Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Susie Say That. Today's topic is a question. Are you still in your terrible twos? Did you know that adults, many of them, are still in their terrible twos? Yeah, think about that and ask yourself, are you still in your terrible twos? When you don't get what you want, do you fall out? Do you take it, hide it, steal it? If so, deny it, put it up under your bed, whatever. Or do you take from your friends or then say you don't have it, look them straight in the face and say you don't have it? I didn't take it. I didn't touch it. No, you touched the cookie and took it off the table. That's what children in their twos do because they have not yet been acclimated in this physical world. Many, many years ago, I had some counseling on terrible twos. And she didn't equate it to grown people. She just asked me a question. We was talking about children. And she said, I said, yeah, they're in their terrible twos. And they was like, they're terrible twos. What does that mean to you? I said, they don't listen. They just do what they want to do. And you constantly have to say, don't do that. You constantly have to put up all these boundaries because they'll go over the boundary. You'll tell them, don't touch that. They'll touch it anyway. She said, why? Why do you think they do that? And I was like, because they're kids, they're toddlers. They're supposed to do that, I guess. And she's like, who's acclimating them into this environment? Who knows that they're dealing with someone, a child, a toddler that came from a spiritual place into this realm that they know not, that's physical realm that they know nothing about. So what you want them to do? They want to figure out what this is. They want to see why this worked like that. When you tell them no, why do they still do it? Because they came from a spiritual place and now they're in this physical realm that has clouded their judgment. And all they want to do is just do what they want to do. We call it terrible twos, but it's really, I have yet to acclimate myself in this environment. So I'm doing these things and trying to figure it out. We as parents are supposed to help them figure it out so that they won't become a menace to society, right? We're supposed to put up boundaries. We're supposed to say, no, you can't do that. When they want to rise up and want to do what they want to do, we're supposed to say, no, we don't do that in this house. We don't say that in this house. We don't see where I'm going with this. So many adults are still in their terrible twos. They're there. I know several of them. They're still stuck there. If they don't get their way, they'll fall out, they'll lie, they'll scream, they'll cry, they try to manipulate everything. They lie, they steal, they cheat. I know several of them. Because even if the people did try to teach them, or whoever was guardian over them, even tried to teach them somewhere, they didn't get it. Somewhere they didn't get it. If they did get it, they still have choices. They can follow the generational pathology that spirit has come into their family. And it wants to hinder them from going forward. So then it stagnates their process from going forward because it introduces itself to them terrible twos. You deserve that. You can have that. You can take that. And you have so many adults. Sometimes when I watch the news and I see where the children are killing the parents, and it seems like it's been heightened. What was going on in their terrible twos? I was a good mom. I was a good dad. We all say that. But did we teach, when they were in their terrible twos, did we teach them about boundaries? Did we teach them about self-power? We all are born with power, every one of us. Or did we just allow our children to use that power to manipulate, to lie, to cheat, to get whatever they wanted? Survival? I'm not talking about those parents that couldn't feed their children, because some of them everyone does the best that they can according to what they have to work with, okay? I get that. But I'm talking about those of us that knew what it was, knew that was power. And we was going to have that power overpowering us. And sometimes you learn from your own environment. I learned from mine. I said, my children are not going to disrespect me. My children are not going to be cursing me. My children are not going to be cursing adults. My children are not, I knew that early on because I was around it. And it always disgusted me. So I knew certain things that I was going to stop my children from doing. When I told my children no, I ruled my house with a tight fist. I didn't beat my kids or any of those things. for the liars that say I did. Never did that. However, I just interjected that because I thought about it. However, did I discipline my children? Yes. My children were not going to be cussing me, talking bad to me. And was I hard on them when it came to school and all that? Yes. Was I hard when they came to chores? Yes. Yes. Because I lived in the environment. I came from a place where that stuff wasn't that serious for some people that, I share my family with. So I wasn't going to let my children do certain things. And I did not let them do certain things. They were acclimated, and I didn't even know that during that time, because I was a young mom, I didn't even know that that's what I was doing. I didn't know that I was allowing them to acclimate themselves, but I was giving them boundaries. I believe that they should share because it teaches them not to be selfish, but to a degree. I don't think you should just give over your stuff to another child, have your children just give over all their belongings to another child because another child wants it. Because then you teach them about self-love, about themselves and protecting themselves. So I believe that should be a limit to that. But I believe that all children should learn to share. Because when you do, you remove them from being selfish. You're removing the terrible 2s and 3s. You're putting those terrible 2s and 3s to rest. Because when they're acting out there, just when you tell your children no, it ought to be a stern no. And I did it with my children, so I'm not telling you nothing that I didn't do. When you tell them no, it ought to be a stern no. If you tell them no again, you ought to heighten your voice and do it with authority to the 2 and 3-year-old because they're trying to find their place in this world. Because if not, they're going to be the 40s. They're going to be the 50s, the late 20s, the early 20s. They're going to be all trying to acclimate themselves in a place where they're stuck at in their terrible 2s. So where are you? Are you in your terrible 2s? Do you have a fit when you call a family member and ask for something? You have a fit and you go on that phone and you talk about them. You lie on them and stuff. Terrible 2s. Where are you when your boss says, no, you can't have that time out? Do you get mad and start just causing all kind of confusion and drama at your job? Terrible 2s. Where are you in your in your 2s? Have you acclimated yourself into this physical world, or are you still in your terrible 2s? Lying. You don't want to go to work. You can't go to work, so you lie and tell your kids to lie. Oh, yeah. Terrible 2s. You cheat. You steal. You steal from people looking right in the face and say you didn't do it. Terrible 2s. You hide things behind your back. Deception. Terrible 2s. All these things have derived from the terrible 2s. And even if they did teach you not to do certain things, there is a spirit, us and a spirit that's evil, that will come into your family and will show your family to follow behind the terrible 2s. Follow behind it. Even if your parents did put up boundaries for you and tell you couldn't do certain things, there's a spirit that comes from generation to generation, an evil spirit that follows the family and that will introduce that person to the terrible 2s all over again so that they can get what they want. We're living in some days. Children are killing their parents, in droves. They're getting it. Why? Because in your terrible 2s, you want everything to go your way. You got all these childhood bad memories, and now you're going to make the parents pay for it. Come on. You're stuck in your terrible 2, and someone has to tell you. So here I am, telling you that you are stuck in your terrible 2s. If your spouse don't do what you say, you get mad and you go do something else. Terrible 2s. They don't get what they want, what they go do? Find something else to do to get in trouble. You said no more bread, fall out at the table, just screaming and crying because they love bread. You said no more juice, and they get mad and they go in the refrigerator even after you said no more juice. Terrible 2s. They have a chance because you can now teach them to acclimate themselves into this physical realm with boundaries, power. Let them know, oh yeah, you have the power in you. We all have power. So let them know you have the power in you, but we're going to send this power someplace else. I'm going to let you put that power to influence. I'm going to have you have that dominion over yourself. That's what power is, dominion over yourself, control, influence. So if they're terrible 2s and 3s, you can still teach them to have that dominion, that control, that influence over themselves. So that other things outside of them will not influence them. Because that's what happens when you don't put boundaries up and you don't teach your children. It's not just about teaching them, it's training them in the right way. Okay? So some of you all, do your own research and see if you are stuck in your terrible twos. And if you are, and if you know God, you don't know God, ask for some help. And if you don't want to know God, seek out some counseling and some therapy. Because you're stuck in your terrible twos. You want what you want, but you can't have it. So you steal it, you take it, you lie, you cheat, you steal. You do all that stuff. Terrible twos. Because I'm going to take and direct all my power outside of me to get what I want, to control the inside of me, because I've never been taught that before. So I'll take and use my power all outside of me to deceive, to lie, to cheat, because I'm not getting what I need inside of me. No one taught me to take my power and redirect it within myself, to have some self-control over myself, so I can influence myself to do better, to say better. You're stuck in your terrible twos. And now, what you plan on doing about it? Like I just said, seek counseling, therapy. My first option was God. I seek God. And then he sent me these beautiful counselors, and they did an amazing job with me because I was stuck in my terrible twos in my 20s and didn't know what that was. So today is your day. As you go about your day, think about that. Am I stuck in my terrible twos? And then see the actions of terrible twos. Research it for yourself so that you can do something with it, so that you won't just be stuck there. Generational curses are real. We have spirits following us from generation to generation, seeing that we're going to get stuck in the terrible twos. You may want to call them something else, but okay, they're still terrible twos and threes. You still acting like a child. You don't get your way. You fall out. You lie, you cheat. You do all these kind of things like a 2-year-old would do. 2-year-olds hide things. They'll go in the refrigerator. You'll tell them not to do it. They'll do it anyway. They have not even been able to conceptualize that that's a boundary, because they're trying to acclimate themselves in this realm. Okay? So remember, as you go about your weekend, ask yourself and monitor yourself and see if you're still stuck in your terrible twos. Okay? Till the next time.